Hi, my name is Steve Glotzhober, and this is a presentation on the traffic management system of Washington, D.C. Here's an outline of what I'll be covering. Specifically, I'll be looking at ramp metering technology and high occupancy tolls implemented on Interstate 66. For those not familiar with D.C., we do have an extensive subway system covering the whole D.C. metro area. On the left side is Northern Virginia, and on the right side is Maryland. And the major issue with this area is that many people work in the District of Columbia, but most do not live in the District of Columbia, so they're commuting every single day. Along the outside of DC in red here is what most people refer to as the Beltway, I-495, 4 to 5 lanes, heavy traffic, especially during rush hour, but it is how people get around the DC metro area. And then here, this red line represents I-66 going into DC, goes from DC as well as out into Northern Virginia. The highway system faces a lot of congestion, and it's a problem that is not going to be remedied in the near future. So the first technology that I was exposed to upon moving into this area 2.5 years ago is ramp metering. This is not just in DC, nor is it just in freeways, but it helps manage the rate at which vehicles access a road. Essentially a traffic light going from red to green, green meaning you can go and merge, red meaning wait. The graphic on the left gives you a little bit more detail. I think this technology is pretty successful. It's also a technology that at high traffic points is implemented, but in low traffic times, say in the middle of night, typically the meters are off and you can merge onto the freeway as normal. But this really helps to keep the traffic flow on the main road from getting too congested, as merging can be one of the factors that really slows down a road, and in that it also makes it safer. So I think this is a very successful technology, and in terms of implementation and maturity, it's relatively easy to implement, and the technology is mature. So the technology that was recently implemented and is quite controversial is high occupancy tolls. And by controversial, I'm talking about from the side of consumers. High occupancy right now for I-66 is defined as 2 or more people. And what this means is that you can drive onto I-66 during rush hour times. And rush hour is defined going eastbound into DC, from 5:30 to 9:30, I believe, and westbound out of DC from 3 to 7 p.m. So we'll take the case of you do not have a high occupancy vehicle, you're traveling alone each day. When traffic is light and we're going into Washington, we may only have to pay $12.25. If we had another person, we'd have no toll. When traffic is heavy though, we may pay $22 just to go into Washington. And so what this does, it changes consumer habits. This article regarding commuter psychology is a great article about how this changes driving habits. It forces some people to seek a carpool partner so that they won't have to pay tolls. And then it turns off a lot of people from driving on this road due to the high cost, which keeps tolls down. And so this system is very complex. It has a lot of aspects to it, sensors, and you do have to get a different kind of easy pass to either reflect that you're traveling alone or that you have another passenger in the car. And so from the same article that I read on commuter psychology, here's some things people said. Most people initially upon implementation did not enjoy it at all. The tolls were much higher than predicted on average, sometimes going to be $40 one way. $40 one way, so that's a lot of money. But there were people that also talked about the intent of the tolls, why they were enacted, and what that high price means. It means that you're trying to deter people from taking that particular road to manage the traffic, manage the congestion. And so finally, with these two technologies, it's easy to talk about the implications of these systems. From everything from livability, which is it easy to just do your everyday normal commuting? whether it's going to work, whether it's going to do, run errands, etc., etc. The safety, these high traffic areas are just a very high chance that you can get into many different kinds of accidents, whether it's car to car, pedestrian accidents, simple fender benders, etc. And something in the DC area that's been brought up many times is the issue of national security, where you have such a congestion problem on a day-to-day basis. What would happen if somebody wanted to, perform a malicious event on infrastructure in the DC area? And lastly, the traffic management, and particularly high traffic areas, I think would lead to a lot of different job creation opportunities as new technologies are implemented, new methods are thought of to help the traffic congestion. And so, just kind of wrapping up, would love to hear people's thoughts on what future solutions there could be. Knowing that these two technologies are implemented in an area of DC, and most people do not think they have solved the traffic problem. So really, what other solutions could we think of?